What's good, team? Today we'll be talking about idea groups. I know when it comes to picking idea groups, I always used to get anxiety, not knowing exactly what to pick and what would benefit my nation the most. The purpose of this video is to provide some kind of grounded idea group ranking and to recommend when to use certain ideas, which will hopefully help clear up that nervousness around when to pick which idea groups. This video is broken out into a quick description of ideas, an explanation on how I evaluated the idea groups to rank them. After that, I'll go over the top 10 ideas based off of that valuation. Then I'll go over some of my favorite ideas. And finally, I'll recommend what idea groups to take based off of your current playstyle. You unlock the ability to unlock ideas through researching admin tech. Get the first idea slot at admin tech 5, and so on. Each idea costs 400 monarch power without any modifiers. This can mean it's a trade between getting a new tech or a new idea. You never want to fall behind in military tech, but for diplomatic and administrative, it can be worth falling behind to unlock a particularly valuable idea. Unlocking an idea will give us a 2% discount on tech for its particular monarch power. So because we've unlocked levy and mass here, our next military tech, we will receive a 2% discount. We will also gain innovativeness, but only if we are the first nation to unlock the idea or if we unlock it within 365 days of it first being taken by someone else. Every 3 ideas, we will also unlock a national idea. The last thing we get from unlocking ideas, other than the idea bonus itself, of course, is the ability to take policies. Once you fully complete 2 compatible idea groups, you can adopt a policy for its respective monarch point, 1 per month per policy. Now let's jump to our ideas list stack rank. I've made 2 sets of ranks based off of the Nation Designer points outlined in the wiki. In the Nation Designer, every bonus has a value and a cost. Each time the value increases by itself, so in this example, each time national tax modifier goes up by 5%, we move up 1 level of cost. If we were to exceed what's available here, we will continue multiplying forward. Instead of using a 0 cost for level 1, we use half of the cost from level 2. I've called this the Wiki cost method. The second way I evaluated the idea groups is by taking the base cost outlined in the wiki, and again, instead of using 0, we are using half of the cost of level 2 per amount. National tax 15% instead of receiving 9 points would only receive 4.5 points. Cost of every idea was calculated and added up to come up to a score for the idea group. I then ranked each idea in order of score. Once that was done, each idea group received a score from 1 to 22 based off of their score. Adding these 2 scores gave us a total score, and according to that score is what we have our ranking. The higher the score, the more valuable the idea group, according to the mathematics that I did. It was done by hand, so who knows. But it's more or less right. Here we have all of our idea groups ranked from 1 to 22. Blue denotes diplomatic, green administrative, red military, and orange government-specific military idea group. I'll go over the top 10 idea groups. These do not take policies into account, but we will discuss those when we talk about my personal recommendations for idea groups. The reason I'm going over the top 10 idea groups and not the top 8, which you can take per game, is because of votes. More on that later. The idea with the most combined points is the exploration idea group. There's 4 reasons this idea group ranks so highly. 1. This is the only idea group that allows recruitment of explorers and conquistadors. Unless you're playing Iceland, Norway, Samoa, or Tonga, exploration ideas are the only way you'll be able to regularly explore. Number 2, it gives you +1 colonist. This is 1 less than expansion ideas, but it's 1 more than any other idea group. One thing you'll notice is that every idea that grants an agent or special effect is worth a lot of points in the Nation Designer and in our map. The third reason exploration scores so highly is because we receive a bonus where we can fabricate claims overseas in colonial regions. This is an alright effect, as you will unlock better casus belli as you progress. The final and most questionable reason for exploration ideas being the highest scoring idea group is the expel minorities cost minus 100%. Using the wiki cost method, this one idea would have received more points than all other diplo idea groups combined. I personally do not agree with this and had to cut the score off at 72. I'm not one to use this ability often, as it ties up your colonist and does not help your cultural situation. Now we can see why I will be covering my opinion on idea groups after the stack rank. According to the math, some things just don't make sense as a regular EU4 player. Let's move on to the second idea group, religious. They scored the second most points thanks to their 3 missionary ideas and Deus Vult. Religious ideas give you +1 missionary with +3% strength and 50% cost reduction. Deus Vult, the last idea of the group, grants you a special casus belli against neighboring heathens and heretics. This is like a baby tribal conquest casus belli on anyone not following your religion. It's great. Deus Vult. Moving on to diplomatic. They can thank their high score to a lot of their ideas generally having a high score. Only 1 idea scored low using the wiki cost method, which is the diplomatic relations +1 idea, and only 2 scored low using the base cost method. the diplomatic relations +1, and the improved relations +25%. Next, we have a three-way tie for fourth place, but not really. The three tied idea groups are expansion, maritime, and naval. The reason I said it's not really a tie and why I'm going over 10 idea groups instead of 8 is because in reality, naval modifiers are much less impactful. The reason these groups scored so high is that the math gives a lot of weight to naval ideas. For example, naval and land force limit get the same amount of points, even though land force limit may be more useful. On top of that, the devs have given naval and maritime ideas a lot of double modifiers to make up for their lack of usability. I would say the devs have failed so far, and I still wouldn't take the naval and maritime idea groups. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not that they're necessarily bad, it's just that pretty much all the other idea groups are more useful to actually help you win. I do believe they're regularly taken in multiplayer games, which is just not that useful in single player. So let's talk about the actual third place idea group, expansion. Expansion ideas score high thanks to granting 3 agents. You get 1 merchant and 2 additional colonists, as well as the double bonus from factories. Aristocratic is our first military idea group in the top 10, since I won't give naval the time of day. The diplomat, leader, siege, and -1% decay of both army and navy tradition are what carry this idea group. The 10% military tech cost ain't none to sneeze at either. This is probably my most taken idea group, quantity. The majority of their score comes from the opener and the bonus, which grant 50% national manpower and 50% land force limit. Back to diplomatic power, we have the trade idea group. This group gives us 3 merchants, and they improve trade. The final idea group in the top 10 and third military idea, according to the score, is offensive. The offensive group can thank +1 leader shock and +1 leader fire for their inclusion in the top 10. That brings us to our stack rank based on the nation designer cost. Like I stated earlier, I don't necessarily agree with this list. The purpose of the list was to give some kind of grounding to how valuable an idea group is, but I'll let you in on a little secret. Ideas are totally situational. With that said, let's go over some of my favorite ideas that are useful in most situations. Quantity is one of my most used idea groups. I probably always take this as one of my first 3 ideas. If I can ensure I won't fall behind in tech, I might even take it first. Quantity ideas provide a 50% national manpower modifier, a 20% manpower recovery speed increase, 10% reduction of regiment cost, a -5% land maintenance modifier, a 33% national supply limit modifier, 25% increase in garrison size, a 10% reduction of land attrition, and the 50% land force limit modifier. I love the opener and the bonus, just like the math did, the manpower recovery speed, and the reduction on military costs. Some standout policies for quantity are field priests and soldier sprayer books, which grant 10% army morale, and a few others that increase force limit even further. My next favorite idea group is religious. While this idea group is in high competition with humanist, I usually prefer to convert and paint them at my religion and chosen cultures. Religious ideas give us +1 missionaries, -25% stability cost modifier, +3% missionary strength, a variety of different things depending on your religion, and a little bit of devotion if you're a theocracy, +1 yearly prestige, -50% missionary maintenance cost. The Deus Vult Casus Belli, which allows us to declare war against neighboring heathens and heretics, and our bonus, which gives us -25% culture conversion cost and loyalty equilibrium for your clergy or Brahmin estates. I don't have much to add to the math. All the missionary effects are great, and while I recognize culture conversion isn't the highest priority, I appreciate the 25% reduction. As far as policies go, the field priests and soldier sprayer book I spoke about earlier is unlocked by having the quantity and religious idea groups completed. There's 5% more morale and 10% siege ability with quality. Not to mention, you could get up to 4% more missionary strength with the right combos. There are certain nations that benefit from humanist over religious, like the Hordes or Confucian countries, and humanist itself is extremely powerful, but like I said, I generally prefer religious. It feels great to bring the Nahuatl light to the heathens in Europe. You can take both religious and humanist, but that's just kind of gross. If you do that, you're probably never, ever going to get a rebellion. Keep in mind you will lose out on a lot of value from religious ideas if you don't plan on expanding into wrong faith provinces, but then you also kind of lose value in humanists by not needing the heathen and heretic tolerance. So there you go. If you're opting for humanist ideas, then you can expect to receive +25% religious unity, -2 unrest, and 25% religious harmonization speed as a Confucian, +2 tolerance of heretics, -10 years of separatism, +2 max promoted cultures, +30% improved relations, +2 tolerance of heathens, and the -10% idea cost. Thanks to all the effects that end up lowering unrest, From the idea group, you will suffer very little rebellions from newly conquered provinces, even if they are wrong religion or wrong culture. I disagree with the stack rank for humanist. I think it's about on par with religious. It just depends on your playstyle. Thanks to all the bonuses that end up lowering your unrest, you will suffer very little rebellions from newly conquered land, even if it's wrong religion or wrong culture. Diplomatic ideas are a great investment for diplo points. This is another idea group I end up taking with a lot of nations. Diplomatic ideas will give us +1 diplomat, +1 diplomatic relations, another diplomat, +25% improved relations, +2 diplomatic reputation, -20% province war score cost, -10% diplotech cost, and lowered impact on stability from diplomatic actions. This allows you to break royal marriages without suffering stability penalties, declare wars with no casus belli for only 1 stability loss, and other similar effects. Every idea in this group is mostly useful as you expand and create relationships with different nations. I generally agree with the math for this idea group, and I would even give more value to the Diplo Relations +1. That's an extra ally in the early game or vassal in the late. 7 of the diplomatic policies can grant 1 additional diplomatic reputation, so get to stacking. The next idea group I would generally recommend is the Influence group. The 4th idea group I would generally recommend is the Influence group. The Influence group gives us 25% income from vassals, -15% liberty, desire, and subject, -25% diplomatic annexation cost, +1 diplomatic relations, +2 diplomatic reputation, -25% envoy travel time, +100% vassal force limit contribution, and -50% unjustified demands. The 25% diplo annexation cost is almost the equivalent of the 30% core creation cost from having 100 absolutism. Coring via diplomatic annexation will also help save some admin points and spread the cost of conquest. The Diplo Rep and Liberty Desire reduction will help keep your subjects in line. My last shout out is expansion ideas. It's not always possible to colonize, and this is useless in those scenarios, but a lot of times you won't have the resources and capability to colonize. The return from colonization, especially in Southeast Asia, is humongous. Expansion ideas will open up with +1 colonist, we'll then get +1 merchant, +20 global settler increase, -50% fort maintenance on border with rival, and -20% center of trade upgrade cost, +1 diplomatic relations, another colonist and a little bit of settler chance, +20% global trade power, and -10% minimum autonomy in territories. The reason I suggest expansion over exploration for most playthroughs is twofold. 1 is very simple, you get +1 colonist. 2, you can steal or coerce friends for maps, making explorers not so necessary. Expansion policies combo well with quantity and diplomatic. You'll get 10% force limit and +10 settlers for quantity, with +1 of those diplo reps and 10% trade power for diplo ideas. Exploration is necessary if you want to try and spawn the colonialism institution and your national ideas don't give you an explorer. Those are the idea groups that I find useful in the majority of situations and their competition. I cannot stress enough how nice humanist ideas are, and they will get an honorable mention. Since idea groups are generally situational, let's wrap the video up with what some completed ideas might look like for different playstyles. I have a mental disability that doesn't let me finish games, so let's jump back to our Google Sheet. Solid sleeper are for those playthroughs where you're trying to own a few lands directly, make lots of gold, and have lots of subjects. Exploration and expansion are needed early for your colonies, economic and trade to build up that tight economy, while quantity, diplomatic, and offensive will help you defend yourself. Influence is included to help rule all of your vassals, but can be traded for plutocratic if available. Deus Voltman likes to expand and not only paint the map their national color, but their religious color. Quantity check. You can go with admin first, but if you're warring a lot from the get-go, you may need the men from quantity and the admin power to core. Religious and divine will help us convert and keep those converted provinces loyal. Espionage may be taken instead of divine. The 20% aggressive expansion is an amazing idea. Divine is only available as a theocracy or feudal theocracy. Admin, diplo, and influence are going to help us balance our expansion and relationships. I'd personally take expansion over administrative. There are unbelievers everywhere, and they must see the light of Inti. Offensive and quality are going to help us win some of those late game wars. Trade can be switched for quantity to square away the economy. Don't do a Deus Voltman playthrough if you won't be expanding against heathens or heretics. A Razor Boys for a good horde playthrough where we want to stay a horde. Starting off with horde and humanist ideas to hopefully quell all of those separatists. Quantity is going to help cover your military costs a bit, but you really need that extra manpower for all your wars. Diplomatic for the reasons given for the other playthrough styles. Admin and influence are necessary for all of your conquests. Trade out influence ideas for trade if you aren't feeding vassals because you want to burn it all. Offensive will bring up our leaders, and quality gives our cavalry just a bit more cake. Final playthrough style we'll go over is chill stoner style, where when you just want to see what happens, grow, and tell everybody that you're just colonizing. Exploration and expansion for that colonization goal. The humanist and religious groups are going to make your population as happy as you are and make it so you don't have to deal with rebellions. All those military ideas should make your wars easy. Gotta start with quantity so nobody attacks you. Hope you enjoyed the idea valuation and recommendations. Don't be shy to like and subscribe. Let me know what your thoughts are on idea groups, the valuation, any feedback in general by leaving a comment or video response. I'd love to hear your guys' favorite idea groups, and maybe there's something you can teach me about an idea group I underrated. I'll link everything in the description for your review. Let me know if I messed anything up. Have a great day conquering, team.